Well, hello everyone, Brad here. Just wanted to put a quick note at the front of this episode of Butschern. Occasionally when I upload videos to YouTube, what normally happens is you upload them, after uploading, they process standard definition version, and then it processes the high definition version. Now, typically, I upload in plenty of time to where all of that is taken care of, so by the time it goes public, it's been processed completely to high def. However, there are occasions where the high definition processing seems to get stuck on YouTube's end. And that would have been the case for Sunday's Butschern episode. Unfortunately, it was also a long episode in standard def, and standard def just does not look anything like nearly as good as the high def stuff. So if you ever run into one of my episodes where the video quality is kind of poor, I would appreciate your patience on that. I do follow up with every video I upload to make sure that they complete in high def. If they don't, there are tricks you do on the YouTube Studio to force that high definition to finish. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the video, and that's all. Hope you enjoy this next, I think it's episode 35 of Butschern, and I will see you all again real soon. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Farming Simulator 22, and we are back in Butschern. It's Monday morning. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know I did, but it always takes a little bit for me to get back into the work week swing. But let's do it the right way, I guess, with a contract, right? Why not? So I had to pull out all the stops for this for this contract. A lot of our equipment. We've got a tedder. We've got a windrower, got our baler, one of our Massies, bale pickup wagon, got the old John Deere, always available. I love that tractor still. Just a sharp looking guy. And then we've got our other Massey, not to be outdone by the John Deere, with our full mowing setup. And you may ask why? Well, we've got a contract for field number 2. We're going to be mowing, tedding, baling, and selling. So let's take a quick look at the contract right here. It is for Fritz. Fritz needs some help, and Fritz is willing to pay a little over $8,000. So that's good for us. And we may even bonus up beyond that if we get some extra bales to sell. I was going to borrow the equipment, or I guess rent the equipment more or less, for $462. Oh, I sure like that Big M. Pretty much any chance I get to use that thing, I try to. And looking at the rest of the equipment, it's actually quite nice. But we have everything we need to do this contract, and I thought, well, why don't we just take advantage of what we have? So let's accept the contract from Fritz. And of course, the first thing we need to do is get this stuff mowed up. It's kind of a dark, dreary day here in Butschern. What is the weather looking like for today? So we've got overcast skies throughout the day, it looks like. Boy, for November, I would take this in a heartbeat if this were real. At least in my area of the country, this would be really good. And rain later at, what is around 7 o'clock, is that? So yeah, I would take this any day though in November. Yeah, that'd be pretty rare. All right, let's get to unfolding everything up. And where are we going to start? How are we going to do this? I guess it really doesn't matter too much how we attack this. So I think we'll just start from here. Fire up the front mower, switch to the back, lower that. What is our, actually, before I do this, let me make sure. It doesn't really matter since we're tedding. Does this thing have swathing? I always forget if it's able to swath. Doesn't really look like it is though, does it? Full lift. Nope, I don't think it is able to do a swath, so. Alright, we're just gonna go with it then. Go back to the front mower, turn that thing on, hit the back mower, get that thing fired up, and get to work. So I hope you all had a good weekend. Very good weekend. I'd say for the most part, my weekend was pretty darn good. My favorite college football team fared very well this weekend. I was a little bit concerned so far this year. They haven't had, I guess, what you would consider to be the toughest components, so it's kind of hard to know how a team, you know, is going to fare. But they did very well. That's those are my Gophers, Minnesota Gophers. Row the boat. Oh man, that's saying. But yeah, they fared very well against the old Spartans, and I live by, work with many Spartan fans, and they are not too thrilled with the way that game developed, that's for sure. But what else is going on in the world of Farming Simulator? Pumps and Hoses is making its appearance this week. Starting to see a lot of videos regarding pumps and hoses. I went ahead and picked it up. Kind of thought I probably would, to be honest with you. Not cheap though. What do y'all think about the price? 18 bucks. Kind of expensive. I mean, almost half the price of the game. So, yeah, not cheap. It does come with a lot of equipment. It does come with a lot of stuff. So that's kind of helps the sting a little bit, so to speak. But I don't know. I just don't know how much I'm going to use it. I'll have to wait and see. On the right map, I think it might be a lot of fun. In fact, I think at least for me in my mind, if I'm thinking of like doing it on a map where I'm featuring dairy or beef cattle, doing a lot, you know, where you get the slurry and you get manure. I think that might actually be a lot of fun to mess with. I'll tell you, it's fun watching. That's for sure. It is fun watching it. It's mesmerizing seeing those hoses get rolled out and laid out and stuff. And I guess, you know, at least in my opinion, regardless of how you feel about the mod or the pricing and stuff, it is at the very least quite inventive, quite unique. There's a Creative Mesh, I think, is the modding group that did that. So kudos to them for, must have been a lot of hard work getting that piece together and done. So I can only imagine. Trying not to miss too much. I'm not going to be particularly fussy about this. I don't think it's going to come down to, you know, a few blades of grass missing. So it seems like to me, and I don't remember this, and I may have talked about this a while ago, but it always, whenever I do tedding for hay, I'm always like kind of concerned about making sure that I get all of the grass tedded and there's no wet grass, because it always concerns me that when I'm baling and if I get some wet grass in that bale, that it's going to turn that bale into grass instead of hay. And I seem to remember that being more of an issue in earlier versions of FarmSim, I think. And it seems to me like maybe they have gotten that, I wouldn't say corrected or fixed, but just changed a bit. I don't know if it goes by percentage. I think I was thinking this before, where if I take a bale, I guess I'm just going to have to test it once and for all and do that, you know, instead of always guessing at it. But it seems like if you've got let's say over 50% hay in your baler and you run across some wet grass, I don't think it does change the entire bale. I think it might go by percentage. I'm just going to have to do a little testing on that. Or maybe I'm being making it more complicated than it truly is. I find some of these things inside TrackIr view are very cool, but I find it much more difficult without GPS, really making sure that I've got good coverage and I'm not missing any strips, or I'm not wasting my time going over things, you know, multiple times that I didn't have to. I guess we weren't doing too bad inside there. We could have probably done the old Zamboni method on this thing and split it in half and just done some loops, but we're almost done. It doesn't take very long to knock out. These fields aren't too big, and this is a pretty decent size mowing setup we have here, so not too bad. I haven't done a lot of tedding. Most of the time when I'm doing grass work, it seems like I fall towards doing silage just because of the, you know, how much more money you make from silage. It is a little bit more work, but I guess it's not that much more work. Actually, it might even be slightly less, because I guess it depends on if you have to windrow. I guess you have to windrow both, regardless, unless you've got a swather. Speaking of swathers, this would be a great thing for that Vermeer, wouldn't it? Did you all hear listen to the latest Farming Simulator podcast, Giants podcast, with the interview with that gal from Vermeer? I actually quite liked it. I thought it was a really informative, interesting podcast. I thought Kermit did a good job interviewing her. There were a couple questions I wished he had asked that he didn't. One of them I'm curious about for Vermeer is, I wonder what their best-selling product is. If they have a particular, like, I'm curious how many of those self-propelled machines they sell. I'm assuming it's certainly not as much as probably their mowers and their standalone balers. But it was neat listening to the interview anyways. I didn't know that they had been around for so long. I also didn't know that the owner, when he started the business, I guess what set him apart quite a bit was the hand delivering parts to farmers if they needed it. I guess he'd fly it out if they were far away. He would get in a plane or whatever and fly out to their location hand deliver the parts. I'll tell you, if I'm a farmer, that says something about the company that you're buying your stuff from, doesn't it? All right, let's fold these giants up. Get him out of the way here. Now we need to do some tedding. There's our tedder right there. I suppose one of the easier. Let's grab the John Deere. John Deere looks like it was getting lonely there and bored, so we'll grab her and get some tedding done here. Wonderful. Get this thing unfolded. Very nice. Looks like it's been a while since I gave our equipment a bath. I haven't even thought about washing our stuff. I like dirty. I like dirty farm equipment. I just think they look better when they're dirtied up. In real life, I'd probably, if I'm being honest, I'd probably keep them a lot cleaner. But here in game though, there's something about just these tractors just look like, I don't know, for me at least, I kind of prefer the work look, the dirty look. Not the dirty looks, but you know what I'm saying. Any of you using the Maze mod yet? Been kind of thinking about it. I'm not sure if I'm truly that interested in it. I always tend to like the idea of adding more realism to the game and stuff, but I'm just not sure it strikes me as something I really want to do. I didn't play 19 very much, and I didn't use it in 19. Let's see. Let's lift it up. Go back a little bit here. Lower her down. Thank you very much. Back off to the races. So yeah, I didn't use it. Didn't use it in 19. Didn't play 19 a whole lot. In fact, yesterday I loaded up FS19. I was just curious. Actually, I loaded up every farm sim game back to 20. Oh, how far back did I go? 2013. I didn't reinstall 2011, but I did go back as far as 2013. And just started loading them and going in there and taking a look at the maps and taking a look at the equipment. And wow, I'll tell you what, oh yeah, okay, I'm glad that's a little bit flexible. Farming Simulator has come a long ways when you look at it that way and you start doing comparisons like that. It's actually really impressive, needless to say, how much change has been happening. If you've got the versions load up FS13 and just drive around the map a little bit. Fire up the equipment, check it out, check out some of the controls, and then hop back into 22 here. And I'll tell you, it's a different ball game. Just about every aspect of the game, from the graphics, lighting, to sound. I never played, all right, very little. For me, FS 13 was on the Xbox. So, you know, that was controller only, right? But I was a little bit surprised to see on 2013 PC version how very little, what do I want to say, customization you could do as far as your controls go. Like, I jumped right into wanting to change key bindings. Yeah, not going to happen. I do miss some of the old stuff, though. It was fun driving around Hagenstedt again and checking out old school Westbridge Hills. Brought back a lot of memories. I spent hundreds of hours in Hagenstedt. It's curious too for me that I picked Hagenstedt to play on and not the American map, Westbridge Hills. But it was my first farming simulator experience. And what an experience it was. I took to that game like a fish in water, I'll tell you what. It was special, no doubt. Sometimes I get jealous about that kind of stuff where you see somebody else experiencing something that you love for the first time. Like maybe it's a TV show that you're absolutely in love with, and let's just grab one out, like we'll say Game of Thrones. Let's say you love Game of Thrones, and you're talking to somebody and they say, "Oh, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've always wanted to kind of start watching that, but just never did." And you're like, "Oh, you gotta watch Game of Thrones." You know, it could be any show you want it to be: Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, all these fun shows, and you're like just encouraging them. You know, "Oh, you gotta watch it. You know, you're gonna love it." And they come back to you, you know, maybe a few days later, and they're like, "Hey, I started watching Game of Thrones. I can't believe I never watched that show. It is amazing." And immediately, I'm just feeling this jealousy inside me of, I want to experience that again. You know, I want to experience seeing my favorite shows for the first time. And Better Call Saul, you know, another one that I absolutely love. And it would just be so much fun to be able to experience something like that for the first time again. That's kind of how I feel about the way it was with Farming Simulator on the Xbox. Of course, I can't imagine how many things in my life didn't get done because of the game. I was on it, you know, straight from work, on it. And I may have even lost some weight during that time from not worrying about food. Oh, it's crazy. And it makes me kind of, you know, you think back to the older versions like that where there was, you know, especially on console, when there just wasn't as much to do. It was so much more repetitive type work, but it was so addicting. And there weren't, if I remember right, no cheat mods. Like there were ways of cheating, so to speak, but not super easy ways of cheating. In fact, I think what I ended up doing was I loaded a Westbridge Hills map. If I remember correctly, I went and I started a new game, a separate game, and loaded Westbridge Hills. I took out all the money I could in a loan. I bought, I think it was windmills, you know, something that automatically collects money for you over time. I think they were windmills. I don't know if solar panels were part of the game yet at that point. I can't remember. But anything I could buy that would automatically generate income, I bought with what money I could get from the loan from the bank. And then I just fast forwarded time and walked away. and I let the game run. I don't know how long I let it run. It was, you know, hours, I'm sure. In fact, I think it may have even been overnight, if I'm being honest with you. And I just let the game on the fastest time scale I could do, and I just let her run and collect money every night. Collected money, and I would buy more. I would go back to it, and I would buy more windmills, and just keep adding to my windmill farm so that the money would collect faster and faster and faster, until I ended up with, I think, over $1 million, well over $1 million, I think. However much money I wanted, so that I could, the goal for me at least was to check out some of the equipment that I couldn't afford in Hagenstadt on my regular gameplay. And it wasn't just to check it out, like be able to just drive around with them, but I wanted to test some of the equipment too, because there wasn't any way that I can remember back then on a console that you could, if you bought something and you didn't like it, or it didn't do what you thought it would do, you could turn around and sell it, but you were out money. There was no way of, you know, nowadays with easy dev controls and power tools and, you know, countless other ways that you can buy stuff in the game, and if you don't like it, you know, if it's a mod you don't like it, you can just turn around, sell it, and go into one of the console commands and recoup your money, and just, you know, say, well, that was a wash, it's not going to work. But 10 years ago, that wasn't quite so easy, so I think that's why I ended up doing all that twofold, was to be able to just check out equipment that I couldn't afford yet, because I was so wanting to drive around in that quad track, that case Steiger. Oh, yeah. And there were other things I wanted to check out as well. So anyways, I think that's about going to wrap it up for this episode of Butschern. I think we're in pretty good shape here with our mowing and our tedding. And I think next time we're together should be Wednesday. We'll get this thing windrowed up and bailed up and get our contract completed. So thank you everyone for joining me again here on Butschern. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great Monday and start of your week. And I will hopefully see you tomorrow morning back in East Vineland at Kubota Farm. You all take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless, and I will see you soon.